Today we're in Korea, uncovering some of the most cutting-edge skincare treatments. Korea always seems to be 5 steps ahead of the skincare world. I feel like an ingredient or a treatment will start trending in Korea and then 6 months later it's everywhere. For example, PDRN, which we will talk about in this video. But being ahead of the trend does not always mean being ahead of the evidence. I wanted to try one of the most futuristic facials I could find in Seoul, and then investigate whether there's any scientific rationale to what the heck they were doing to my skin. So if you're a skincare junkie like I am, you're gonna enjoy this one. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by Jones Road Beauty. Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care, where we fall in love with the practice of taking care of ourselves so we can live better, longer. I came to Korea with a very specific skincare goal. I wanted to look at one of the most interesting ideas in skincare right now, which is using material from your own body to help rejuvenate your skin. This is called an autologous treatment. In theory, this can help reduce the risk of reacting to a foreign material, although it absolutely does not mean a treatment is risk-free. The version of this type of treatment that most people are familiar with is PRP microneedling. You get your blood drawn, they separate out the platelet-rich plasma, and use it to inject or microneedle back into your skin. So the rationale behind PRP is that a higher concentration of platelets may encourage our body's natural healing processes, help reduce inflammation, and accelerate tissue repair. Now, in a perfect world, we could test 5 different types of facials, but I only have one face, so I went to one clinic for a facial, and I went to a second clinic for a hair treatment, also using my own body's materials. So I will share both of these. I also stumbled upon the most epic Korean skincare pharmacy. Apparently Hailey Bieber was there last month, and I learned about what she bought from one of the pharmacists, so I will definitely be sharing all of that in this video. But first, let's start with the very exciting autologous facial treatment. So speaking of trends and buzzwords, I've been hearing the word exosome all over the place. Everyone is obsessed with exosomes, both on the internet and in my personal life. I've heard people loving the results from using exosomes. So what are exosomes? Exosomes are tiny, membrane-bound packages released by cells that carry proteins, lipids, RNA, and other molecules, essentially allowing cells to communicate with each other and influence processes like inflammation and tissue repair. So this cell-to-cell signaling idea makes them very appealing in skincare. It's kind of like trying to speak the cell's language by offering it all these signals that are going to tell the cells to repair themselves or repair the local tissue. Traditionally, exosome facials use exosomes derived from lab-grown or donated cells, or even from plants. But I wanted to see if there was a clinic that would actually be able to use my own body's exosomes as part of a facial. There was only one clinic I could find doing something like this, and that was the Lienjang clinic. This clinic has many branches. I went to the Gangnam branch, and I was determined to have their exosome facial that uses my own body's exosomes. This is what they call their MCT facial. So when you go to a Korean skin clinic, you will typically get a consultation. And at this clinic, I had quite a lengthy consultation because I had a lot of questions and I really wanted to make sure I was choosing exactly what I wanted. In Korea, it's very common to choose a skincare package with multiple steps, and it's very rare that you just come in and do one thing. And as I was asking about this exosome facial, I also realized that it was impossible to get this facial with just my own body's materials. In Korea, you can't really customize things so much. I couldn't just get exosomes. They did not do that. So unfortunately, there's no way for me to say, yes, the exosomes are the reason for my final result. However, this clinic does offer a package with a similar facial without the exosomes. So in theory, I could go back, get the same facial without the exosomes, and then compare the results. But that is an experiment for a future video. So let me explain exactly what happened here. First, they drew my blood and prepared the MCT Metacell treatment. The clinic describes this as using a light and heat-based conditioning process on my own platelet-rich plasma. And the idea is that this processing encourages the platelets and other cells in the sample to release more signaling material, including growth factors and extracellular vesicles. And technically, exosomes are one specific subtype of an extracellular vesicle. So just imagine there's exosomes in here and other good things. Now, this was then mixed with Rejurin HB. And Rejuven, if you have seen this brand, is known for their PDRN and salmon-derived products. This was described to me as a skin booster containing salmon-derived polynucleotides. So after fully numbing my face, the clinic injected this mixture into my face in a little dotted grid pattern. And PDRN is usually smaller fragments that are used in topical skincare products, and PN are longer, more gel-like chains that can be used in injections, and that is actually what I got. There is evidence for using these fragments in wound healing, but there's not strong evidence for skincare more broadly, and it's just been so trendy in Korea. I feel like every facial now includes it. So although part of this treatment came from my own blood, the full facial was not purely autologous. But I was still very excited to try this because this is the closest facial I could find to what I had in my imagination. It looks like it's painful, but it was not painful at all because I was numbed. After that, they did some light microneedling with exosome serum. So this is an extra step that is definitely contributing to the results. And again, this is something that was included in part of the package. I think also these facial treatments are not personalizable because these clinics develop them and it becomes their signature. So then you have to go to that specific clinic to get that sort of facial, which makes sense to me. And ultimately, I just went along for the ride because I was paying the money anyways. So I thought, let's just get the best results. At the very end, I did opt for an LED calming facial moment. I am so obsessed with red light therapy. You guys know this if you watch my content. So I thought this would be the perfect moment to calm and soothe my skin with a little red light. But is there any evidence for this type of facial where you are not only taking your PRP from your blood, but then you're further treating that PRP to extract growth factors and extracellular vesicles? The strongest study I found that is directly relevant to this MCT style preparation was a small randomized split face trial where 28 adults received standard PRP on one side of their face and then the MCT style preparation on the other side. They had 3 monthly sessions and were followed for 6 months. The MCT style preparation performed modestly better for some wrinkles around the eyes, but for most of the other measurements, including pigmentation, redness, and several skin quality measurements, it was not clearly better than standard PRP. One important note about this study is that the researchers did not measure the amount of exosomes or growth factors in the material they injected, so the study supports that particular processing of the PRP, not necessarily a specific type of exosome or a specific amount of growth factors or extracellular vesicles. I'm going to continue to watch the results, and probably the next time, if I do go to Korea in the future, I would be really intrigued to go to the same clinic and do largely the same things, but just do the PRP instead of that extra step where they are extracting the extracellular vesicles and the growth factors. Immediately after this facial, I was nice and swollen and bumpy and red, and the swelling kind of continued for a few days, as well as the redness, which lingered a bit longer. While I was letting my skin heal from this procedure, I really wanted to wear makeup that would cover up the redness, but also let my skin heal and breathe properly. And that's why I've been wearing this foundation stick by Jones Road Beauty. This foundation stick is truly skincare meets makeup. My skin actually feels better after I wear it and take it off at the end of the day. It contains ceramide MP, squalane, shea butter, sodium hyaluronate, all of which help to moisturize and calm the skin. This stick has been wonderful for my sensitive skin. It is the most skincare forward makeup that I own, and I love that it has a very smooth consistency. It doesn't have that thick, drying cakiness that a lot of other foundation sticks have. By the way, if I look a little zoned out, it's because I'm still waking up. I always do my skincare and makeup first thing in the morning. But to finish off this look, I just added a little bit of blush and mascara. I wanted to keep things light and simple as my skin is healing, but I still wanted to feel a little bit put together. So this is the final look. If you would like to try this foundation stick or any other products by Jones Road Beauty, you can click the link below, scan this QR code on screen, or use code SELFCARE at checkout for a free mascara on your first purchase. Thank you, Jones Road Beauty, for sponsoring this video. Now let's continue on this Korean skincare adventure. Around the 2-week mark, I started to think, hey, my skin looks a little bit glowier. And I would catch my reflection without any makeup and think, do I have makeup on? No, I don't. I'm now at the 3-week mark, and I will definitely follow up in September with my final thoughts on this all. But for now, I will say my skin definitely looks better. The question is, would it have looked just as good if I had just done normal PRP? I will keep you guys posted, but one thing this has really made me realize is that the Korean glass skin trend, I always thought of that as being related to topical products, but I actually think that oftentimes this glass skin look is actually achieved through facial injections. Not even necessarily injections like filler where you are trying to build volume, but just injecting some nutrients or some skin boosters under the skin so that you're actually sure that it gets through to those deeper layers, because a lot of topical skincare we put on our skin can't actually penetrate our skin barrier very well. So injections allow for you to be sure that those ingredients are going a little bit deeper. Again, these types of injections are not like filler, which are trying to build up volume and achieve a certain look. This is more to rejuvenate the skin and give the skin a healthy glow. And I definitely feel like my skin is more glowy. So that was my facial adventure so far. I wanted to continue to test other treatments and other clinics. So I decided to do something on my hairline, and I have a natural M-shaped hairline. Ever since I was little, this has been the shape of my hairline. However, as I've gotten older, the M has receded more, and I just feel like the area around my face is a little bit thinner. So I really wanted to target that. And I got matched with this clinic, Amoa640, through Seoul Guide Medical. And if you don't know what Seoul Guide Medical is, it is a free service that is kind of like a matchmaking service for beauty and skincare treatments in Korea. You can reach out to them, you can tell them what you want to get, and they will match you for free to a clinic that does that procedure and help you kind of navigate the beauty landscape. So I was match made with this clinic for a scalp treatment, a PRP scalp treatment. And again, I wanted to explore the world of autologous treatments, but I also wanted to give my hair a little love. As much as I love skincare, I feel like I'm not that well versed in hair care and scalp care. It is something I am working on, but I just have less of a passion for hair than I do for facial skin. But this appointment was quite eye-opening because I basically realized I need to take better care of my scalp. First, you speak with the doctor and you share a little bit about your concerns and your hair, and the doctor agreed that PRP would be a good idea, though he did tell me that this is something you would have to repeat to see really promising results, and he recommended I also introduce minoxidil into my routine, and coincidentally, I am planning to do that in the fall. I'm so excited to start minoxidil. I'm going to do it on half of my head for a true A/B test. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I will document that, of course. But for now, we're just going to try this single PRP treatment. Also more for the experience because I've never had anything like this done. So after the consultation with the doctor, I got my head analyzed. Oh, my scalp. We started at the top of my scalp, which looked quite healthy, but as she worked her way to the bottom and the back of my scalp, it became very clear that I don't do a good job of scrubbing and shampooing down there because we were seeing a lot more dryness, a lot more flakiness, and even an area that was inflamed where I had scratched myself open. And I'm gonna cover this up because it looked so gruesome because this is a microscopic camera where you can see every hair follicle. So any sort of little rash or injury just looks absurd. It's so blown up. So I'm going to spare you all the gruesome details, but basically I realized my scalp health was a little neglected, and I don't think we humans should be looking at our scalp this close up, but it was helpful to be reminded that shampooing is not just good for our hair, but our scalp. I was telling them a bit about my shampooing routine. I typically like to shampoo once a week because my hair is really fine and frizzy. If I wash my hair more often, it gets frizzier and I don't like the way my hair looks. So I like to wash my hair with shampoo only once a week. They did not like that idea. In Korea, I think that is not considered hygienic whatsoever. So they were basically telling me, your scalp looks crazy, you need to shampoo every single day. No, they didn't say that. They're incredibly kind and polite. But the takeaway was that I should be shampooing every single day. Now, since I've had this treatment, I won't lie, I haven't shampooed every day. It's too much. It feels like too much for my hair. But I have been paying attention to shampooing my entire head well and making sure to shampoo also the back and the bottom of my scalp, which I think is a little bit more neglected. Anywho, after this scalp evaluation, we went to do a scalp treatment where I essentially just got a scalp scraping. First, she went through and literally scraped the dead skin cells off of my scalp. Actually, it sounds kind of intense, but it was incredibly soothing. It was kind of like a massage. She used this scraper tool, this rose quartz scraper hand type thing, to remove dead skin cells, and then gave my scalp what I can only describe as a power wash. She essentially used some sort of water pick and went in very meticulous rows along my scalp, power washing any debris, dust, dead skin out of my scalp. And this part felt really lovely. It was a scalp massage. It was relaxing. I really liked this part. While I was doing this, I got my blood drawn for the PRP scalp injections. And this is where things got a little bit spicy. Unlike the treatment that I had at Lienjang on my entire face, I did not get any numbing for this PRP scalp injection because this was just my own PRP and there was no lidocaine or numbing ingredients. It was a very spicy injection. It was totally fine once the procedure was done. There wasn't a lot of lingering pain, but I will say if you have a very low pain tolerance, I would probably not do this procedure. However, if you are someone that wants a really pure autologous procedure, this is a great option because essentially what they did was scrape my scalp, power wash my scalp, and then inject my own PRP back into my scalp. So there weren't too many extra added ingredients to this, which I really liked. There is actually more compelling evidence for PRP related to hair loss than for skin rejuvenation. Some studies have shown PRP may increase hair density. All studies, though, usually involve repeated treatments, so this is something you typically need to do multiple times to potentially see results. Following this procedure, I felt like my hair was so light. My scalp was so clean. I don't think my scalp has ever been this clean since I was a tiny baby. My scalp felt a little naked and my hair felt so light because there was nothing weighing it down. But I think that feeling subsided over the course of a few days. And overall, I'm not sure if I see a huge difference in hair growth. It's also a part of another video. I've been doing red light therapy on my head. So it's hard to say if some of these baby hairs are due to the red light therapy or the PRP. And it doesn't hurt to add in the PRP. But like the doctor said, this is something you would want to do more than once to see promising results. And he recommended adding in minoxidil, which I will do in the future. So overall, it was just such an adventure to go to these clinics. If you have a reason to visit Korea anyways, you might as well fit in a few little treatments here and there. I also went shopping for skincare products. I originally wanted to go to Olive Young because this is the most well-known skincare and makeup chain all over Korea. There are so many in Seoul, it feels like there's one on literally every corner. However, as I was aimlessly wandering the streets of Gangnam, I stumbled upon what I was actually looking for, which was the most epic Korean pharmacy I had ever seen, called Optima Wellness Museum. Granted, this is probably a little bit touristy and a little more expensive. Most Koreans are probably not shopping here, but this is kind of like a luxury pharmacy in Korea where you can get personal recommendations from pharmacists. They have so many products that are a little bit more evidence-based or dermatological than the products that you'll see in Olive Young. A lot of the brands that they sell also make medicines. So one of the pharmacists was telling me why she loves the big brands is that they have a reputation to uphold in Korea. So they are very careful with all the products they launch, but they also have much larger budgets to do clinical trials and more extensive research before they launch products. So I was very excited. I was like a kid in a candy store in here, just going around looking at all of these more dermatological grade skincare products. And then the pharmacist that was helping me told me that this is where Hailey Bieber had shopped just 1 month ago when she was in Korea. By now, that will have been several months ago. And usually I'm not really following what celebrities are up to, but if there's anyone who I want to know what sort of skincare they're using, it is Hailey Bieber. So I was very excited to talk to the pharmacist. She shared some products with me that Hailey Bieber grabbed. And lo and behold, these are the products Hilariously, this is the exact clinic I had gone to for my facial. The pharmacist said these masks are also very, very popular in China and tourists are coming and buying them in bulk. So I just bought a bunch, partially for myself to try, but also because I want to do a giveaway to you guys. In another video, I'm going to go into depth on all the products that I bought. I'm still in the process of sorting through all the products and I want to test each one properly. And I didn't want to start testing this all while I was still observing the results of my facial. So it's going to take me probably another 6 weeks, maybe even a little longer, until I can get through the products that I got and to really give you guys a good Korean product review. In the meantime, if you have any additional skincare questions that you would like me to potentially address in that part 2 video, please leave that down below as well. I'm going to make one of you a nice skincare package with these masks and other Korean goodies. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is add a little heart emoji down below, and please share either a skincare product you are currently obsessed with or a skincare tip that you have really loved and that has changed your skin. Let's spread the skincare knowledge and skincare love. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.